In the previous session, we got a introduction to arithmetics where we understood what exactly is all about the binary representation. Why do we have to go with the base 10? Why base 10 is very natural to us and why base 2 is not natural to us. I explained you all those. The necessity for us to have the LSB and MSB. We need to have LSB, MSB representation every time. And why do we need to have it? I told you that without having a solid representation, the people who want to represent it might represent, one person might represent it from left to right and another one might represent it from right to left, horizontal, vertical. You can write it the way you want and it's not correct. So I explained you that clearly, and that summarized the necessity for a standard notation. And then we went on talking about how do we represent the signs, the positive and the negative stuff. Earlier I told you that we had the representation in the left hand side, also in the right hand side. Earliest of computers tried both with the left hand side and right hand side, and then it became a overhead for them. And then finally they decided that let's not have it. Instead, we will have a digit which is going to represent if it is positive or negative, and that's how signed arithmetic came into picture. I took a very simple example of whatever we have discussed in the previous semester in embedded systems, and we clarified how exactly the signed arithmetic works. And I then told you that we have got some MIPS support available for these kind of signed arithmetic, and it's all about SLT and SLTI being included with one option like SLTU and SLTIU, which means they are unsigned. We have explained you that as well. Now today, as I told you, we are going to learn something very simple, which is nothing but we are going to take a very simple problem and we are going to play around with math. All these are fundamental math, and this would definitely be part of your question, so please pay attention. The first question is to negate 2 base 10 and then check the result by negating minus 2 base 10. So what we are going to do is we are going to negate 2 base 10 first, and from the result that we have obtained, we are going to negate it again to see if we are getting the question back. I am going to reverse engineer the question, I mean the answer, to get the question in the second half of it. I'll generate the answer in the first half. I'll do a reverse engineering to see if I can get the question again. Now how do we do it? Very simple. 2 base 10 is to be represented in 32 bits. Remember, whichever question is thrown at you, unless and otherwise specified as 16 bits or 8 bits, you are not supposed to take it granted as 16 or 8 or 4 bits. It is 32 bits. We are talking about MIPS, and the entire subject is all about 32 bits. So do not tell me later on that, sir, nobody told me. Nobody will tell you this. This subject is all about 32 bits. So see that here, the 2 is represented here in 32 bits. Now how do we negate it first? We are going to negate it by inverting it, and then we will add 1 to it. What is it called? Very simple, the 2's complement method that we are following. So I am going to negate it all, and I added 1 to it, so I got this result. So this is the result that we are getting. Now what do? We need to now find out if we are going to get the reverse one that we wanted to acquire is working or not. I've got the result here. I'm going to negate it and I'll add 1 again to it. So I got the question again. It is 2 based on. Now for you to represent the minus 2, what you got is this long result, and for you to represent 2, you got the right result. That is, our natural notation is here, and that's how we got it. The question is 0 0 1 0, and we got 2 based on here. But this is representing negative, and here this is representing the positive. We tried inverting and we got it working. Now we are going to go with only fundamentals even today, because we are going to construct the flowchart and the architecture for addition and subtraction, multiplication, a division with respect to MIPS, and it will take some time for you to understand that. So do not feel that wow, this is so simple and that's all. Is this what is being taught is not the question that you need to ask right now. So please listen to it carefully, and this will all help you in later stages. Maybe after 1 or 2 sessions you will understand that this forms the fundamental and the base for rest of the sessions that we are going to see. Now we are going to do the addition and the subtraction right now, and we are going to do addition through subtraction also. So I'll explain this clearly. Now we are going to add 6 base 10 to 7 base 10 in binary, and then we are going to subtract 6 base 10 from 7 base 10 in binary. And subtraction can be done using addition as well. Remember it, we are going to play around with all this, and the questions can come pretty much from this. I can ask you a question, subtract using addition. It is possible, and we are going to do that. It is appropriately to be negated, that's all. When you go ahead with an appropriate negation with some rules being followed, that's it, you are doing subtraction using addition. So we are going to go step by step in this. The first point that we need to understand is how do we add 6 base 10 to 7 base 10. The first step is here. So again, please see that wherever it is there, it is all 32 bits. So 7 base 10 is 0 triple 1 2 and 6 is 0 double 1 0. I added them all. I put rest of the bits as all 0 preceding 0. If you are not putting it, your answer won't be evaluated and it's not correct. Since it is MIPS, we want you to go ahead with 32-bit representation everywhere as I told you. And the addition is simple. I hope I need not teach you this. 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 10 and 1 goes here. 3 ones together get you 1 and that 1 comes here and we got 1 1 0 1. So it is 7 plus 6 13 and the 13 is obtained here and we validated it. The carry, everything has been taught to you right in the schooling stages and we have done that also in the initial stages of digital electronics. So I hope you understand this very clearly. Sir, now what is the next thing, sir? Very simple. I am going to subtract 6 from 7 and it can be done directly. So I am going to subtract 6 from 7. So 7 is 0 triple 1, 6 is 0 double 1 0. So I put all preceding zeros and when I subtract it, 1 minus 0 is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, rest all goes 0. So we get 1 base 10. But can we do that via addition? I told you that we are going to use subtraction for addition. How do we do that? Very simple. We can use the 2's complement representation of minus 6. The 2's complement representation of minus 6 can be used and when you do that, here the subtraction can be done through addition. That makes a lot of sense and you got the result. So you can see that the result is presented in front of you. We got the 2's complement value and we are using it, and once you do that you got 1 base 10 which is nothing but 7 minus 6. So there can be a question which will ask you to implement subtraction through addition and this is the only way to do it. Now the next point that we need to understand is all about overflow. What is overflow, sir? I have been telling you this for a long time now. So overflow is the capacity of, overflow is not having the capacity of holding the bigger result. I can tell you that I have got a wrong result. I have no other way to tell you that I have got a wrong result. I will intimate you through overflow. Now we need to understand very clearly that there is a table is presented. I will explain you the table also very clearly. Wait for some time, but before that, when overflow can occur for addition, when overflow can occur for subtraction is to be clearly understood. Let's go with addition first. Overflow will occur in addition when I am going to add two numbers which are positive and in case the result comes as negative. Remember, I am going to add two numbers, A and B are added, operand A is positive, operand B is positive, the result is negative, then it is overflow. Remember, I am adding two numbers. The two numbers, the operands are all of the same type. They are all positive, but the result is negative. In that case, it is overflow. Now I am adding two numbers. Operand A is negative, operand B is negative. Then what would be the result? The result would be also negative, but in that case, if it becomes positive, it is also overflow. So this table, the first two columns are explained right now. The A plus B, when operand A is positive, operand B is positive. If the result is indicating negative, then we call it overflow. Operand A is negative, operand B is negative, and in case the result is indicating positive, we call it overflow. Now that's it. We have explained it very clearly, and these two scenarios are sufficient for you to understand and to let me know if there is an overflow or not. This is with respect to addition. Now please understand, the adding or subtracting the two 32-bit numbers could definitely yield a bigger number. I have got two 32-bit numbers and it could always result in getting you a 33-bit number or at times 34-bit number. So the point is very simple. There is no 33rd bit available for us when it comes to the representation. There is no 33rd bit available. We have got only 32 bits. So what will happen? The existing 32 bits will be now acquired. The last bit is going to be used for this purpose and we are getting you a wrong result. That's it. The lack of the 33rd bit is what is the problem. The lack of the 33rd bit, whenever there is an overflow occurring, there comes the problem and we do not get the right result. We need 33 bits, but what we have is only 32 bits. So what do? The processor is helpless. It's cornered as required. It will not work. So we get an error. So we need that one extra bit, right? We need that one extra bit that is not available with us. So in that case, we get the erroneous result. Now come to subtraction. I have got A minus B. when A is greater than 0, I mean A is positive and B is negative, the result will, if in case the result is negative, it is overflow. Logical, right? I have got A as 5, B as minus 1, then the result should be 4. If it is minus 4, in that case, there is a overflow. Now, A minus B, where A is negative and B is positive, and the result is, you can see that here, result is greater than or equal to 0, where A is, I mean, we need to see this way, A is minus 5, B is 2. Now, what is the result? It should be minus 3. So, we need to understand that if it is not minus and in case it is positive, we get the bug there. So, all these are representations for overflow. I have two numbers, both of them are positive, result is expected to be positive when we add it. I have two numbers, both of them are negative, when I add them, the result should be negative, but in case it is positive, it's a overflow. Likewise, it's all simple math that you need to work around, and if the result is given by the processor is negative for positive and positive for negative, it can be rated as overflow. These are called as the conditions for overflow. Remember it, there could be a question, there could be a code given to you. I can give a 5 or 6 lines of code to you, and I may ask you what would be the status of overflow for this addition and subtraction operation. Just take this table, consider it, and then give me the result. That's all. Now, I'm going to go to the school level multiplication right now. We need to understand how exactly the multiplication has been done during our earlier days of schooling. How do we do it? Very simple. I'm going to take two things. Many of us might not remember this, multiplicand and multiplier. I have got the first term called as multiplicand and the second term called as multiplier, and we are going to use this. So how do we do it? I will take first 1000 and I will multiply it by 1. I get 1000. I'll take 1000 and then I need to multiply it 0, then 0 again, and then 1 again. I will start adding one after another and I get the product. I hope this need not be taught. I hope I need not go ahead and start working it all the way to explain you how exactly this works. This is a simple school multiplication that we are looking into. Now, sir, why do we need to learn it, sir? Now the question is very simple, how MIPS will handle it. How MIPS is going to perform this multiplication is the question. So we are going to perform the multiplication with MIPS in the same way. This is all the paper and pen work that we are doing all this time, and I'm going to take up the same method and we will make sure that we are getting the multiplication fully implemented. That's what is the target for the session. We are going to learn how multiplication is to be done. We are going to learn how exactly division is to be done, and we will go step by step, right? Remember, the product may be considerably larger than what we assume. If I have a 32-bit number, another 32-bit number, and if they are of the fullest capacity, the overflow could be there and it could as well result in an error. Remember it, like addition, like subtraction, there could be multiplication overflow as well. Now what is it, sir? I am going to implement the multiplication through hardware and I will give you an overview of it today. Tomorrow we will go ahead and understand how exactly this flow works. It will not be overload for you. I don't want you to take up a lot of inputs in the same day. So we'll go step by step and I'll explain you what are all the components used in this entire hardware implementation, and we'll also explain you the flow once today. Tomorrow we'll have a recap of how exactly things work. Now remember, we have got three very important components, or in fact whatever is there in front of you are all important components, but we need to focus on three things: the multiplicand register, the ALU, the product register. We have got these three as the most focused component: the multiplicand, the 64-bit ALU, the product. Don't worry about what is the 32, what is the 64, how did it come. All these things will be done later. I'll explain you step by step. Now what will happen? I need to start multiplying. I need to start getting this process done. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I'll take the first one, multiply with the first digit. I'll get it printed. I'll go one step to the left. I'll take the first one, and here I need to move to the C. Here I'm taking 1 first, and then I'll take 0. Take 0, I'll take 1. Here I'm moving left, and then I need to add it here this way. So this is the way we multiply, right? Normal paper and pen working is what we are going to do here, and that's what is explained. We have got the numbers available and I'm going to shift it by left on each step. Once it reaches the dead end, the multiplication process over and I have got the sum available there. Add it up and get it as the result. That's it. This is exactly what we are going to do, and there is a control register which will decide when to shift and when to update the product register. What is the product register? Very simple. I have the values available there. I'll keep adding. The moment I get more and more values and finally I get the final value, the last level value available there, I'll sum it up and I will put it as the product in the product register. Very simple. I've got two numbers. Let's go with the same example. I've got two numbers. I multiply it with 1. Now I have got this as result. I move to one step. I move one step left here. You can see that that's reflected here. So I take the next one and I multiply it. Now these two will be summed and that is updated in the product. Now I go to the next one. I get this result. I add these three and I updated it in the product. Now finally I get the last one and I add all of them and I update it up in the product. Now who will decide all this, when to move, where to move, how to move? There is a control register which is going to work on this. This control decides when to shift the multiplicand and the multiplier registers and where exactly to write the new values into the product register. Now remember, we have got the product register 64 bits with, we have got ALU 64 bit, we have got multiplicand 64 bits with a lot of reasons. I will explain you that as well little later. Now till now what we have understood, we have taken multiplier, taken multiplicand, we have multiplied it. That's through traditional method. The control will decide when to go left. I'll get it multiplied by step after step and then I'll add the summary and I will put it in the product folder, I mean the product register. That's all. Now remember it, it's all very traditional. We are not doing anything new here. It's all very traditional, and as I keep telling you, this is the way that we do in the paper and the pen work, and that is what I have explained you. Now here is where we need to understand it once again, and I'll just go through it today. I'll explain it once again tomorrow as I told you, because it might not be understood right in the first attempt. So I'll explain you this flow chart again, and then we'll decide how to choose the hardware for it. We need to go ahead with this example. This example will let you understand clearly as in how do we multiply. That's it. We have got a very simple example available here. This instance will help you in understanding that. Now what is the first step? I have got multiplier and multiplicand. You know what is a multiplier and multiplicand, right? So this is the multiplier and this is the multiplicand. So please remember, do not forget it. This is very, very important. If you swap it, you might get confused a little bit in the flowchart. Now what do we do? The first step I start. Now I test the multiplier value. If multiplier 0, I mean the least significant bit, the LSB of the multiplier determines whether the multiplicand is added to the product register or not. Remember, this least significant bit will help you in understanding that. Now let's get it as 0. I will now shift it to the left by 1 bit. I will shift the multiplicand register by 1 bit. I need to then shift the multiplier register right by 1 bit. You understand this, right? I need to go on, multiply, get the product updated. That's it. This can be understood clearly by referring to this example. We will go ahead and solve this out one by one. First, we need to shift the multiplicand by left, and then we need to shift the multiplier by right. You get the multiplicand and multiplier shifter, and the product is available. And finally, when you operate on, you get the final result. I'll explain you this tomorrow, don't worry. For now, what you need to understand is we have got the terms multiplier and multiplicand. We are going to use the ALU. We will shift it left and right appropriately as required, and we will sum it up and we will load the result into the product register. That's all. This is done all with the simple components, which is nothing but the ALU, the product register, and the control register. We have got a control option available there, which is going to help us in shifting all this. I have not yet shared this PPT with you. The reason is very simple. After I complete this teaching, I thought I can share it with you so that you can go through it. Otherwise, you may be confused. So you'll understand how exactly to do this table by tomorrow. Till now, do we have any questions?